3, and. So let's take Zach's end of his solo. Let's do 148. Right? '82. Yeah. Okay. 1 bar 5. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I wanted to ask you first about Billy Strayhorn because his footprint in Pittsburgh is so extraordinary. And you may remember that the first time we met in Pittsburgh a while back, I was with that group that had Franco Harris in it, and the Billionaire and the Millionaire.
Yes.
Saving the Crawford Grill.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to believe that whether you knew Sweet Pea or not, you certainly felt his legacy there in Pittsburgh.
Oh, definitely, definitely. He remains a founding father of jazz in Pittsburgh. He will always be one of the first persons cited as Pittsburgh's own. Yeah, and we still with the Pittsburgh Jazz Orchestra, we still do a piece, at least one piece every concert. And I do the same thing. I try to dedicate myself to doing something whenever I do my little solo things here and there. I do something of Billy. His music it's interesting. I found it to be untouchable, and I'll explain that in just a second, okay? Because it is so perfect, you don't want to mess with it. Like as an arranger, okay, what can I do to this? How can I play with this, There's no reason to play with it. It sits on its own, and it is so perfect. I've tried, honest to goodness, I've tried.
You tried to enhance it?
Yeah, right. It's like, well, what can I do to fix this? Not fix this. It's a bad way to say it.
To mess with it,
yeah,
enhancing it.
Yeah, yeah. And there is nothing to be done. It is such beautiful music. It's so perfect. Oh my goodness.
I don't know how much you know about him and his relationship to Duke. You probably do know something,
Some
right?
of it, yeah.
You're aware of the Queen's Suite that Ellington and he wrote together?
Yes, yes.
But Ellington was in England, and Sweet Pea was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, actually, he was in Pittsburgh and in New York City.
Yeah.
And they were on the phone? You knew about that?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
And Ellington, I guess, did the first 2 sections. He called Sweet Pea and he said, well, can you do the next 2 sections? I'm too busy. And so he played them on the piano. So he said, got it. Several days later, Sweet Pea, and across
Amazing.
the ocean.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
And it's so seamless. You could never tell who did what.
Yeah, yeah. They were of the same mind. It's incredible. It really is.
It is.
Billy Strayhorn is our encore.
But what was special is the chord changes and the melodies.
Right.
The colorful nature of those, and just the movements. I've written so many arrangements of his things, and I look at the movements, and it's like, oh, the chromaticism involved in them is really marvelous.
Duke Ellington, in about the middle or toward the end of his career, wrote 3 sacred concerts that were premiered up in New York City. And these were amazing concerts. They weren't masses like Mary Lou Williams. Mary Lou Williams, Pittsburgher. I always like to salute the Pittsburghers. And Mary Lou Williams wrote some jazz masses. But Duke wrote 3 sacred concerts. Very lavish productions with huge choirs, jazz singers. He even employed a tap dancer to do a David Dance Before the Lord, that kind of thing. When amidst all this excitement and all this grandiosity, there is a piece that's right in the middle that goes down to just voice and piano. and it's a woman named Babs Gonzalez who sang with him, and it's a piece that has no lyrics to it whatsoever. It's just vocalese. And it's Duke, if you're interested in knowing this, it's Duke on Fender Rhodes, and the Fender Rhodes had a very funny thing at that time whenever they had a stereo vibrato. So you've listened to this in headphones, it'll go like wah, 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 you know, so very interesting. But the tune is harmonically so incredibly interesting that I've always loved it. And I thought it would be interesting to do this. So, and the great thing about this shows you Duke's very sly sense of humor. This is actually called TGTT, which stands for Too Good to Title.
I have a nice connection with 4 of the musicians, specifically Keith Bishop, the baritone player. Keith was a Pittsburgher, and Keith and I knew each other. We were ships that passed in the night, where he was playing, and I had just come into Pittsburgh as a kid, and Keith was finishing up his undergrad, and he was getting ready to head out to be one of the show players traveling with Cats. And so I ended up replacing him in the band. And we probably only played together maybe once or twice, but he was the first person that I thought of. And whenever you contacted me about this, Keith was the first person that came to my mind. It's like, oh goodness, I want to get some Pittsburghers in here. A guy named Matt Niess, who played trombone in the Army Blues. We were roommates whenever we went out on tours. Oh, wow. Well, his son Zach is totally tearing it up now, and I was so happy that Zach is out here, and so he is the trombonist on the gig, wow, which is really great. Glenn Cashman, the tenor player, Glenn and I used to play together in the Baltimore, D.C. area, playing in wedding bands and event bands, that kind of thing. And we played a few really serious gigs together too, but most of our work together was doing those kinds of things, making money. Yeah. And then Jeff Jarvis, I've known Jeff probably the longest because Jeff has distributed my original music through the guy I write for is a guy named Doug Beach, and Jeff's company, the company that Jeff was co-owner of for many years, they distributed it. So I've known Jeff, and so I knew Jeff was out here, so he was definitely a person I wanted to contact. Now the other 6 musicians, which were very, very happy accidents, I contacted Tamir Hendelman at your behest, and unfortunately Tamir was busy, but he told me about Jeremy Siskind, and Jeremy is absolutely marvelous. Oh my goodness. Jeff was responsible for Ryan Dong, the drummer. And Michael Parchaiski, the bassist, both graduate students of Jeff's, really wonderful. Chad Willis was also the lead trumpet player. Chad Willis was recommended by Jeff too. He said, if you need a lead trumpet player, I really like playing with Chad. And then Andy Waddell, who is the guitarist. He's exactly who I needed. I wanted someone who, whenever it was, I forget who I was asking about this, trying to find a guitarist, but I said, I need someone who's willing to give me a lot of colors, because I don't just want a person who just plays.
You want Barney Kessel.
Yeah, right. I need some colors. And
yeah.
Andy was just, it's perfect. It's really good. In fact, it's whenever guitarists come on to these bands, they wonder, some guys will look at a pedal board and they'll go like, But I saw Andy at his pedal board, and I told him, I said, process the heck out of this, man, whatever you want to do. So he went with it, man, and he's coming up with some really beautiful sound. It was remarkable, Jim, within the first 10 minutes of the rehearsal, the band kind of started like this, and within 10 minutes, I felt it do that. It was really great. It was really cool, because at first, the first couple minutes, literally in my mind, I was like, I don't know if some of this music's going to work.
I
It just
understand.
feels really uncomfortable right now.
Do you want to try the end of someone's solo going into the next person's solo just so we can get the intensity change? Or is everybody cool with just making sure you do that? Okay, I was going to say, I just didn't, it seemed a little weird to do it, but I thought I wanted to make sure about that. That's cool. Okay, let's do this. Let's take Zach's end of his solo. Let's do 148. Okay, and let's play 148 and let Zach trail off. And like I said, Ryan, just wait for Zach to finish up, and then you start your thing. That way you can start from the lower intensity level too, man. Okay, there's 148. Yeah, your last day. I'm sorry. Yeah, the whole last day. Yeah, here we go. 148. Ready? Everybody's in. 1, 2, 3, and.
But it was great. Within that relatively small amount of time, the band found itself. And some of the guys have played together in different configurations. But this is a. I'm thrilled with this band. I was so happy to be able to put this band together.
1, 2, 3.
Quintet is really marvelous because there are so many more colors available because the fact that we're not sticking with here's the sax section, here's the trombone section, here's the trumpet section, Everybody has some other colors to play. And the idea of utilizing guitar and piano is fun.
Let's get the bridge thing happening. Okay, let's go back. Let's rehearse. Like I said, we have this luxury. I'm not used to this, man. So let's get that initial bridge. Let's get 37 working into 37, okay? Right here, okay? This is 19 again, second time. 19, second time going into the bridge. Let's just get that to feel a little more comfortable and let it settle. 19. 1, 2, ready, and. That's perfect, right? Yeah, and it just sits there. And even if if I screw up and count it off fast, put us right there, man, to the bridge. Set the bridge up exactly there. That'd be beautiful, man.
I know your writing does not sound like George Shearing in any way, but you have that kind of preternatural lyrical beauty.
Well, thank you.
Has he influenced you at all? I mean, even over on the side?
Honestly, no.
Well,
but that's very nice. I'll take that.
Well, I
though.
don't hear Shearing in you,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
hear what you're doing, having that kind of delicacy. And almost, how do I put this? It's not Halloween-like, but it's a kind of liberated cheerfulness.
Okay. This actually leads me into thinking about tonight. So I actually wrote a piece that we're going to premiere tonight, and it's called Elation.
Oh.
Because it was, I most of what I write I go with my gut instinct. I'm not a trained composer, and not a trained arranger really. I'm just kind of
You're
by
you're
studying.
messing with me.
No, seriously. I have one semester of jazz arranging to my credit, and no composition lessons. It's just happened by listening, and I guess I've always said I think I was destined to be this person. There's not much else I can do.
Yes,
and
just
so
like Strays was destined to be Strays.
Yeah.
So again, this being a very special moment for me, I'm going to make it a special moment for you, I hope, because we're going to premiere a brand new piece that no one has ever heard before. One of the things that's happened to me, a lot of my music is kind of just based on my experiences. And I had the lovely experience after 14 years of finally being on sabbatical this semester, which is a wonderful thing for a college professor, being freed of all the rigors of the daily thing. And so this next piece I wrote during this sabbatical, I actually just finished it, a few weeks ago. And it kind of describes my feeling during this whole time. This is called Elation.
Syncopation.
Yeah, syncopation. So, one of the beautiful things about this ten-tet is the fact that since we have fewer players, the instruments sometimes have to take on different roles than they would if they were in a big band, okay? Big band, the guitarist is relegated to playing chords, some lines here and there. Well, now, in this group, this guitar becomes the seventh horn. And it's wonderful because the guitar matches with every instrument in that horn section. Wow. And so to integrate the guitar in there, whether it becomes a part of the brass section or part of the saxophone section, or as was just mentioned, the idea of it becoming an ostinato instrument. A lot of this music really stemmed from these small ostinati that I would come up with and then would expand upon it, Sometimes music would start with, there's one piece we're going to play tonight called Continuum, which is, it's really just, it's 8 parallel minor 11th chords. And so there really is no functionality to any of that. And so the idea was creating this groove, and then as was mentioned, the guitar is playing this syncopated line that works its way through the whole thing, and we add the horns on top, and it becomes a very leveled thing.
Who's a reed player who's been important for you?
Well, I mean, as far as the more modern thing, I had to cite Michael Brecker, being that I was a kid during the, yeah. Well, and,
That's deep.
I didn't understand it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because it was so deep. As a kid, I'm listening to this stuff. Not, you know, on the accessible stuff was the music that he was playing on the radio.
Sure.
I've told my students all the time, my generation had this wonderful experience of hearing Tom Scott and David Sanborn and Michael Brecker playing on these pop songs, creating this really lyrical music, but then you go look their stuff up and you go like, oh my goodness, it blows you away, you know? Whenever I first heard the Brecker Brothers album, that first album, of course I didn't understand it at all, you know, but it was amazing. But it's that virtuosity that really inspired me.
The things that you learned or heard from Michael that challenged you, can you talk about that kind of a deep melodic or maybe chromatic?
Certainly.
Influence.
So the two things that we cite without getting too incredibly specific into things is the fact that the use of pentatonics, taking what Train did, and taking the pentatonics even further through the use of chromaticism. You know, and the story I've heard, in fact, it was confirmed. I just read I think last year I read the biography, which was beautiful and heart-wrenching at the same time to see talk about the end of his life.
Oh my God.
But he was talking about the gentleman who was a tenor player on the Mike Douglas show, who he and Randy both took lessons from. I forget who it was. Anyway, he would teach both Michael and Randy to play. He would teach them American popular songs, and they would play, like, for instance, they would do like maybe I don't know, Heavy Memphis Jones, but they would play into the concert key of F. But he would also have them learn to play it in G flat and E, a half step above and below, and they would have to play the changes, not just kind of goof around. but they
Yeah.
would have to
Well,
play
you
the
can't
changes.
goof around.
Right, and which showed that chromatism, that whole the term that has been coined now is chromatic side slip. So you hear them go out, but it's still inside because they're playing music that's very inside harmonically, but outside the progression. There's a piece we're going to play called Blues for Ukraine tonight that is utilizes the 7/8 dance rhythms that are typical of Ukraine. And the piano is the ostinato there, playing bing boom bing boom bing boom bing boom bing boom bing boom bing boom, and we play off of that, and we play a dance, a Ukrainian type dance on top of that whole thing.
So we're going to get back to another original. This one has not seen the light of day, but one other time, I guess, yeah. So this is, several years ago, I started to try to figure out, we have, by the way, at Duquesne University, we have that group, that very internationally acclaimed group called the Tamburitsins. I don't know if you happen to have heard of them or not, but it's a group that does Ukrainian, Slovenian, Slovak dancing, that sort of thing, which has a lot of very interesting odd meters. So having heard some of that, both as a student at Duquesne and then as a teacher at Duquesne, it inspired me to write this next piece in honor of, memory of, all the stuff that's happening in Ukraine right now. This is called Blues for Ukraine.
what I write starts as a song, and then I sort of surround it with a whole bunch of stuff.
I've tried to signal this to you in my own smoke signal way that you're a hero to me.
Well, that's awfully nice. Thank you, man. I appreciate
and
that.
I think I'm not the only one.
This guy, you've already figured it out, didn't fall off a turnip truck. He has a degree of sophistication harmonically and melodically and conceptually that since my entire life has been dedicated to music since I was a little kid, I think I've heard it all. And he is, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not so sure I am, in a way the last of a line of composers and arrangers who understands some secrets about the beauty of the pentatonic scale and other technicalities that are irrelevant to the beauty that, if you know what to do with them, they create euphoria, bliss, happiness. And it's because I'm happy he's here, and it's because he is so special that we've inducted him into our Jazz Hall of Fame. Mike Tomaro.
Oh, Jim, thank you, man. Oh, my goodness. Wow.
He'll be back.
It's a lot of music from the heart for me tonight. So I think from the idea of that elation to, there's a piece we're going to play that I've dedicated to my wife who passed away 14 years ago from pancreatic cancer.
Very unfortunate. But it set me on an interesting path. And so I got this idea that I would start doing some fundraising for the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. And so a year to the day that she passed, we did our first concert. And we did 7 of them, raised several $1,000s each time, which was really marvelous. But this piece that we're going to play for you right now, try to get through this. The piece we're going to play for you right now, I wrote on for that very first concert. And the reason I want to tell you about it is because I want you to understand the programmatic nature of this. The title of this piece is Heaven Sent. And if you've, probably folks who are about my age, you understand what this idiom means. You talk about someone, oh, this woman is lovely I'm with now. She is sent from heaven. She's sent, heaven sent. And I thought I would sort of turn the idiom around and think about what a trip to heaven might have been for her whenever she passed away. So this is called Heaven Sent.
I'm thrilled with this band. I was so happy to be able to put this band together.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks, Jim.